A black family was enjoying their dream vacation at a luxury resort when racist security guards and police officers accused them of trespassing. They humiliated the father, handcuffed him in front of his children, not knowing he was a senior FBI agent. Now, the truth is out. How will he respond to this injustice? Will he let it go, or will he fight back and demand accountability? Stay tuned to find out. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below where you're watching from. The Harrison family had been looking forward to this vacation for months. Life in Los Angeles was always busy, and with Michael's demanding job as an FBI agent, free time with his family was rare. His wife, Olivia, a journalist known for uncovering social injustices, had spent the last few months buried in work. Their two children, Noah, 13, and Ava, 8, had been counting down the days until they could finally enjoy some time away at Sunset Bay Resort, a luxury beachfront resort in California. As they arrived at the resort, the sun cast a golden glow over the water, and the ocean breeze carried the scent of salt and fresh air. Michael let out a deep breath, allowing himself to finally relax. "All right, kids. Who's ready for the beach?" he asked with a smile. "Me," Ava squealed, already tugging at her mother's arm. "I just want to check out the pool," Noah said, stretching his arms. "They have a diving board, right?" "They sure do," Olivia replied, chuckling. "But let's get checked in first." At the front desk, the receptionist greeted them warmly. "Welcome to Sunset Bay Resort. Checking in under the name Harrison?" "Yes, Michael Harrison," he confirmed, sliding his ID across the counter. The process was smooth, and within minutes, they were heading to their room, a spacious ocean view suite on the 3rd floor. Michael had made sure everything was perfect. Later that afternoon, the family settled by the private beach, enjoying the warm sun. Olivia lay on a lounge chair, flipping through a book, while Noah and Ava played in the shallow waves. Michael leaned back, sipping a cold drink, savoring the rare moment of peace. "Feels nice to actually be off duty," he muttered to Olivia. She smiled, glancing at him over her sunglasses. "Let's hope it stays that way." Little did they know, their perfect vacation was about to take a drastic turn. As the Harrison family enjoyed their afternoon at the private beach, everything felt perfect. The waves crashed gently against the shore, the laughter of children filled the air, and for the first time in months, Michael felt at ease. But peace didn't last long. From a distance, a security guard, Officer Bradley, stood near the entrance to the beach, watching the Harrisons with narrowed eyes. He had been patrolling the resort for years and believed he had a good sense of who belonged and who didn't. Something about this family made him suspicious. Adjusting his radio, he spoke into it. "Got a possible case of non-guests using the resort's facilities. I'm checking it out." With a firm posture, Bradley approached Michael, who was reclining on a lounge chair. Olivia, sensing something was off, lowered her sunglasses and sat up slightly. "Excuse me, sir," Bradley said, his voice flat and authoritative. "I need to see your room key, or confirmation that you're a registered guest here." Michael raised an eyebrow, setting his drink down. "Excuse me? This is a private resort, and we've had issues with people sneaking in," Bradley continued. "So, I need to verify that you and your family are actually staying here." Michael remained calm, but Olivia could already feel her frustration bubbling. Michael took a deep breath before responding. "We checked in earlier today, room 302. You can call the front desk to confirm." Bradley crossed his arms. "I'll have to check that." Noah, who had been listening, furrowed his brows. "They didn't ask anyone else for their key. Just us." Bradley ignored the boy and pulled out his radio. "Dispatch, I need confirmation on room 302 guests. Olivia leaned forward, her voice sharp. Why are you assuming we don't belong here? We just gave you our room number. Call the front desk if you don't believe us. Bradley gave a tight-lipped smile. Just doing my job, ma'am. Michael clenched his jaw, but kept his composure. He had seen this kind of behavior before. The subtle, polite way authority figures tried to disguise their prejudice. As Bradley waited for a response, Olivia muttered under her breath, "Here we go again." Little did they know, this was only the beginning. Michael tried to stay calm as Officer Bradley continued speaking into his radio, waiting for confirmation from the front desk. The air around them grew tense. Other resort guests relaxed nearby, completely undisturbed, while the Harrison family was being treated like trespassers. Ava, who had been playing in the sand, looked up at her father with worried eyes. "Daddy, is something wrong?" Michael forced a reassuring smile. "No, sweetheart. Just a little misunderstanding." Before Olivia could say anything else, two uniformed police officers entered the beach area, walking directly toward them. Officer Mills, a tall, burly man with sunglasses perched on his nose, and Officer Reynolds, younger but carrying the same authoritative stance, flanked Officer Bradley. "What's the situation here?" Mills asked, looking from Michael to Olivia, then at the children. Bradley gestured toward Michael. "This man claims to be a guest, but I haven't confirmed it yet." Michael's patience was wearing thin. "I already gave you my room number, 302. You could have called the front desk by now, instead of escalating this." Reynolds, the younger officer, crossed his arms. "Sir, if you are guests, then you won't mind showing us some ID." Olivia's eyes widened in disbelief. "Are you serious? We are sitting here enjoying our vacation, and you're demanding ID? As if we're criminals?" "It's just a standard security measure," Mills said flatly. "You need to cooperate." Michael took a slow breath, knowing that refusing would only make things worse. He reached into his bag and pulled out his wallet, handing over his driver's license. Mills examined it, then passed it to Reynolds, who studied it longer than necessary. "What's the problem now?" Olivia snapped. Reynolds looked up. "You live in Los Angeles?" Michael frowned. "Yes. Why does that matter?" Reynolds shrugged. "Just verifying." Noah, who had been silent, finally spoke up. "So, you think we don't belong here because we're black?" Both officers stiffened. "Nobody said that," Mills muttered. "But that's what's happening," Olivia said, her voice firm. "I've seen enough of these standard procedures to know exactly what this is." Reynolds ignored her. "Sir, I need you to stand up and step aside while we verify this information." Michael clenched his jaw. "Verify what? My wife and I gave you everything you need. You are harassing us? In front of our children. And for what?" Bradley shifted uncomfortably, but remained silent. "We can do this the easy way, or we can do it the hard way," Mills said, his tone hardening. Michael exhaled slowly. He had spent years as an FBI agent, de-escalating situations. He knew that resisting, even with reason, would only make things worse. He stood up slowly, hands visible. "Michael," Olivia warned, reaching for him. "It's fine," he murmured. Noah and Ava watched in horror as Mills grabbed Michael's arm and roughly turned him around. "Hands behind your back." Ava let out a small cry. "Daddy, stop!" Olivia stepped forward, but Reynolds blocked her path. "This is wrong. You have no reason to do this." Mills pulled out his handcuffs and snapped them around Michael's wrists. "You are making a big mistake," Michael said, his voice low and controlled. Reynolds smirked. "I don't think so." At that moment, several resort guests who had been watching took out their phones and started recording. Olivia turned to the crowd, her voice shaking with fury. "Record this, every second of it." Michael kept his posture strong, but inside, rage boiled. He had arrested actual criminals throughout his career, terrorists, drug lords, human traffickers. And yet here he was, being treated like one, because of the color of his skin. Noah, standing frozen, clenched his fists. He had always admired his father, his strength, his intelligence. But now he felt something new. Fear. This was no longer just a misunderstanding. This was humiliation. And it was far from over. Michael stood still, his wrists locked in cold metal cuffs, his heart pounding, not out of fear, but out of frustration and anger. The officers treated him like a criminal in front of his wife and children, and the weight of the moment was crushing. Olivia's voice cut through the tense air. "This is insane. He is an FBI agent. You are arresting a federal officer." The words sent a shockwave through the officers. Mills frowned. "What?" Michael, still calm but visibly furious, turned slightly toward the officer. "You heard her. Michael Harrison, FBI. Special Agent." Silence fell between them. The crowd around them grew, cameras recording every second of the incident. A few bystanders whispered to each other, their expressions shifting from curiosity to outrage. Reynolds hesitated, his confidence wavering. "Yeah? Then where's your badge?" "In my wallet." "Which you refused to check," Michael snapped. Reynolds and Mills exchanged a look, before Mills hastily reached for Michael's wallet, flipping through it. His face paled as soon as he pulled out the golden badge, stamped with the unmistakable emblem of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. A long, heavy pause. Mills stiffened. Bradley, the security guard who had started this whole mess, took a step back, his face drained of color. Michael's voice was deadly calm. "Now, do you want to tell me why you put cuffs on a federal agent without cause?" Reynolds cleared his throat, struggling for words. We're just following standard procedure." "Standard procedure?" Olivia snapped. "Tell me, did you ask anyone else for ID today? Did you pull aside any of the white families sitting here and demand proof that they belong?" Mills tried to recover. "Look, sir, Michael cut him off. "No, you listen to me." His voice was controlled, but his eyes burned with intensity. "I have worked in law enforcement for 15 years. I have arrested terrorists, traffickers, and murderers. And yet today, you decided to treat me like a criminal because you saw a black man at a luxury resort." Reynolds swallowed, his gaze shifting to the growing crowd. A woman holding her phone spoke loudly. "I'm live streaming this. Everyone's watching." The officers knew they had messed up. Olivia stepped closer to Michael, glaring at them. "You humiliated my husband. You terrified my children. This isn't over." And she meant every word. Michael stood still, his wrists locked in cold metal cuffs, his heart pounding, not out of fear, but out of frustration and anger. The officers treated him like a criminal in front of his wife and children, and the weight of the moment was crushing. Olivia's voice cut through the tense air. "This is insane. He is an FBI agent. You are arresting a federal officer." The words sent a shockwave through the officers. Mills frowned. "What?" Michael, still calm but visibly furious, turned slightly toward the officer. "You heard her. Michael Harrison, FBI. Special Agent." Silence fell between them. The crowd around them grew, cameras recording every second of the incident. A few bystanders whispered to each other, their expressions shifting from curiosity to outrage. Reynolds hesitated, his confidence wavering. "Yeah? Then where's your badge?" In my wallet, which you refused to check, Michael snapped. Reynolds and Mills exchanged a look before Mills hastily reached for Michael's wallet, flipping through it. His face paled as soon as he pulled out the golden badge, stamped with the unmistakable emblem of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. A long, heavy pause. Mills stiffened. Bradley, the security guard who had started this whole mess, took a step back, his face drained of color. Michael's voice was deadly calm. Now, do you want to tell me why you put cuffs on a federal agent without cause? Reynolds cleared his throat, struggling for words. We're just following standard procedure. Standard procedure? Olivia snapped. Tell me, did you ask anyone else for ID today? Did you pull aside any of the white families sitting here and demand proof that they belong? Mills tried to recover. Look, sir, Michael cut him off. No, you listen to me. His voice was controlled, but his eyes burned with intensity. I have worked in law enforcement for 15 years. I have arrested terrorists, traffickers, and murderers. And yet today, you decided to treat me like a criminal because you saw a black man at a luxury resort. Reynolds swallowed, his gaze shifting to the growing crowd. A woman holding her phone spoke loudly. I'm live streaming this. Everyone's watching. The officers knew they had messed up. Olivia stepped closer to Michael, glaring at them. You humiliated my husband. You terrified my children. This isn't over. And she meant every word. The tension hung thick in the air as Officer Mills slowly unclipped the handcuffs from Michael's wrists. His hands were steady, but his face betrayed his nervousness. The damage had already been done. Michael rubbed his wrists, his gaze sharp, as he looked each officer in the eye. Now, he said, his voice low but powerful, you're going to tell me exactly why you thought it was necessary to escalate this. Officer Reynolds, still holding Michael's wallet, hesitated. Look, Agent Harrison. Michael stepped closer, his presence commanding. Number you look. You and your partner just publicly humiliated a federal officer in front of his wife and kids. You assumed I didn't belong here. Why? Reynolds swallowed hard. But Mills, the older of the two, tried to take control. Sir, we were responding to a report of potential trespassers. It was never our intention to cause harm. Olivia scoffed, stepping beside Michael. Not your intention? You had my husband in handcuffs before you even checked his ID. You treated us like criminals while families around us, white families, sat and watched undisturbed. A voice from the crowd shouted, She's right. We saw the whole thing. Bradley, the security guard who started it all, shifted uncomfortably. He had wanted to assert his authority, but now the entire resort was watching him as the cause of this disaster. The resort manager, a middle-aged man in a crisp white suit, suddenly rushed onto the scene. What's going on here? His eyes darted from the officers to Michael, his face instantly filling with concern. Your security guard called the cops on us for no reason, Olivia said, crossing her arms. Then your officers escalated it, even after we gave them our room number. The manager visibly paled. I'm so sorry, sir. This is unacceptable. He turned sharply toward Bradley, his voice lowering in anger. You were supposed to ensure security, not profile our guests. Bradley stammered. I was just doing my job. No, Michael interrupted. Your job is to protect this resort and its guests. Instead, you decided to single out a black family enjoying their vacation. That isn't security. That is discrimination. The crowd murmured in agreement. Some guests had already pulled out their phones to record the aftermath, knowing that this moment was just as important as the arrest itself. The resort manager sighed heavily. Looking from Michael to Olivia. I want to personally apologize on behalf of our establishment. We take pride in offering a welcoming environment, and this should never have happened. Michael's jaw tightened. Apologies don't erase what my family just went through. The manager nodded quickly. Of course. Please, allow me to compensate your entire stay. Olivia let out a bitter laugh. You think a free vacation is going to fix this? The officers remained silent, realizing just how deep in trouble they were. Michael took a breath, looking at his wife, then his children. Noah's face was set with anger. Ava clung tightly to Olivia's hand, still shaken. This isn't over, Michael finally said. Not even close. The Harrison family sat in their hotel suite, the atmosphere tense with frustration and exhaustion. The day that was supposed to be a peaceful vacation had turned into a humiliating display of injustice. Olivia paced near the window, her phone clutched tightly in her hand. We're not letting this slide, she said firmly, tapping through her contacts. I'm calling my editor. This story needs to be told. Michael, sitting on the edge of the bed, nodded in agreement. His wrists still carried faint red marks from the handcuffs. Noah sat beside him, his hands clenched into fists. Dad, he muttered, why do people treat us like this? Michael sighed, rubbing his hands together. Because some people make assumptions based on how we look, he said carefully. But that doesn't mean we stay quiet. We fight back the right way. Olivia pressed a number on her phone, putting it on speaker. It rang twice before a voice answered. Olivia, what's up? She didn't hesitate. I have a story for you. A black family falsely accused, detained, and humiliated at a 5-star resort. And guess what? The father? An FBI agent? There was a pause before the voice responded. You're kidding. No, Olivia said sharply, and I have video evidence. From across the room, Michael watched his wife with admiration. Olivia had never been one to stay silent in the face of injustice. The voice on the phone, now serious, said, Send me everything. This is going to explode once it's published. After hanging up, Olivia turned to Michael. We also need to file a formal complaint against the police department. They need to be held accountable. Michael exhaled. I'll call the Bureau's Internal Affairs Division. They'll want to look into this. That night, Olivia uploaded the video to social media with the caption, My husband, a federal agent, was handcuffed today in front of our children. For no reason. This is what racial profiling looks like. This is America. The post went viral overnight. By morning, national news outlets had already picked up the story. Headlines like FBI agent wrongfully detained while on vacation flooded news sites. Social media was ablaze with hashtags like #Justice for Harrison and #Racial Profiling Must End. The resort's reputation took a massive hit. People began canceling their bookings, and calls flooded their front desk with demands for answers. The police department was also under fire. The chief of police was forced to make a public statement. We are conducting an internal review of the officers' actions and will take appropriate measures. But for Michael and Olivia, a statement wasn't enough. Days later, Michael received a call from his supervisor at the FBI. Michael, the voice on the other end said, This case is getting attention from higher up. We want a full report. If these officers acted improperly, we'll push for action. Michael smiled grimly. Now they were being forced to listen. Olivia, sitting next to him, reached for his hand. We're making a difference. He squeezed her hand gently. And we're just getting started. The Harrison family's experience is not just a fictional story. It reflects real issues of racial profiling, injustice, and abuse of authority that still exists today. Their story teaches us the importance of awareness, speaking up, and demanding accountability when faced with discrimination. One key lesson is that staying silent allows injustice to continue. Olivia used her voice and platform to expose the truth, turning a humiliating moment into a movement for change. In our daily lives, whether we witness racial bias at work, in public spaces, or within institutions, we must speak out. Small actions, recording incidents, reporting misconduct, or educating others can lead to systemic change. Another takeaway is that bias exists everywhere, even in places meant for relaxation, like a luxury resort. This highlights the need for training, policy changes, and cultural shifts to ensure people are judged by their actions, not their appearance. Finally, we learn that resilience and persistence matter. Michael and Olivia could have walked away quietly, but they chose to push for accountability, ensuring their experience helped others. The next time we see injustice, big or small, we must remember, change happens when people refuse to look the other way. Now, let me ask you, what would you do in their situation? Comment 1. If you would stand your ground and fight for justice, using every resource available to expose the truth. Comment 2. Si vous préfériez éviter la confrontation en priorisant votre sécurité et celle de votre famille. Drop your answer in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support more important stories like this one.